What's up, y'all? Back at it again. Right now we're in the homie Mo's 1956 Bel Air. He just recently purchased his vehicle and it was pretty much newly restored. Brought it to us so we can do what we normally do for him, get the right height dialed in and put the right wheels on it. Unfortunately, after we did that, took it for a test ride and the fuel pump went out.
Now we gotta go back up the hill.
So Mondo went ahead and banged that out today. Car's been here for about a week. Banged that out today, and we are now doing a test drive to make sure we don't have that issue. What the car came into us for was a set of 22-inch intro wheels, and Mo always has white walls on them, so some rubber band white walls. And then we ended up dropping the rear end on this about 1.5 inches to get the ride height level. But just real basic, this car is already clean as hell, to be honest with you. Made me love Bel Airs. So we're about to go up this hill right now. This is where we were having issues before, so should be solid. The crew at the shop, past few months, we've been grinding. We've been in the stage of the projects where we're not close to being finished. There was a lot of fab work going on. So these past few months, we got a lot of work done. So as soon as we get back to the shop, you'll see. Now we got some projects that are seeing daylight for completion. It's starting to look real good, real good. Now we're going over to visit Poncho in his lovely little dungeon. He's on project 55 Bel Air. Last time you guys saw this, I believe the motor was just installed. The issues we're running into are the valve covers that the clients provided with us hitting the hydro boost. So he's trying to raise it or lower it?
I lowered it and pushed it to the left. We'll modify this bracket. We'll either have like Matt fill it in. So I just pushed it over a hole. So it should have cleared. I'm gonna notch this right here. So it should be clear then. Because before we had it, yeah, and this hole was pushed over a little bit more. Yeah, because if I lift it up, the rod on the back, it just like has way too much tension down. There was already like a top hole, but it won't like reach it. It just has way too much tension right here. So at least down, there's more pedal room, and that like more room to move that rod around, and it just looks better. So
now over to Matt's little dungeon, as we call it with Southside. This is Project F100. This truck came to us with a Cadillac 472 swap. Motor was offset damn near 8 inches to the passenger side to clear the steering gearbox. So nothing was centered. Driveline wasn't centered, exhaust wasn't centered, motor wasn't centered. So the client wanted to get it centered. So, and also converted over to an upgraded suspension. So what we did on this one is we went ahead and talked to Team 321 and they set us up with a custom cross member to convert this over to a Ford Crown Vic suspension. So Crown factory was an 06 Crown Vic, lower arms, Team 321 custom upper arms, and then Alden American coilovers. This rack and pinion is out of a Mercury
Grand Marquis.
And then we're gonna run the factory Crown Vic calipers and rotors. Now the problem is we got this in, put the motor down, and that Cadillac motor has a front sump for the oil, and that oil pan, instead of being dropped in the back, is now in the front, sits right here. Another problem we have to get through, as usual. Anyway, we got Matt over there fabbing up the fuel tank for the Impala, and that'll finish up hopefully, and we can get that thing out of here. Coyote swap Lincoln. Mondo went ahead and pulled out the motor a couple weeks ago. We sent all the beauty panels out to get polished. Poppy and Limber went ahead and finished actually just painting this. Nando went ahead and body worked the aprons on both sides. This one we didn't have to do anything for because we have a beauty panel that covers down here. Next up is get all the panels back, put the motor back in, wire it, figure out a shifter. This one's done and goes to an upholstery shop. Oh shit, Andrew's Camaro. Andrew's Camaro. In for its third and final prime. Andrew's 68 Camaro, I apologize. I said 69 in the previous one. Anyway, this is the final primer with guide coat. Tear it down, jam it, put it back together, and then do a final wet sand on this, and hopefully spray it by next week. The body line is fucking, and look at the body lines on this, crispy though. Straight through here, and look at this one. All right, on to the next. Now we got an update on Project 55 Bel Air. Nano went ahead and firewall's all done. For those that were following this is all Nano's one-off creation, custom bead rolling. We basically cut out a gang of rust on the original firewall, made this nice custom one-off, which will house basically on this side only the hydro boost, and then everything else will be kind of seamless. Poncho is going to run all the hoses and wiring behind the motor, so it'll be tucked in underneath the firewall, and then the AC stuff is going to go through the fender and then pretty much tuck on down. So as you're looking at this complete right here, that'll pretty much be all you see. We had to do a few little rust panels on the lower portions of the firewall, and then after that we'll assemble the front end, do a full mock-up, put the fender liners in, shave those, mold those how we want, start building off the intake, the mounts for the power steering, because we're doing the LSA in this, mounts for the heat exchanger, the cooler, everything else, and then we'll break it all back down, paint the engine bay, send the frame off for powder coat, and hopefully after it comes back, straight assembly and fire that thing up. All right, for the suspension, now as all the metal work started to get in hand, it got a little slower because this car came in and we didn't realize but it had a lot of rust. But obviously Nano went ahead and knocked out the rear floors complete, rear mini tubs he did, and then basically the rear package tray. Went ahead and did a nice little B-rolled section to kind of tie in with the rest of the build. Even though you won't even see it, it's just kind of the thought process with having it all torn down right now. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it all and do it right. All that's left now is to get this thing assembled and we'll break it all back down. Here we got the 63 Coyote swap Lincoln Continental, and pretty much the whole team went in on this. Poncho's been at it. Lastly, plumbing everything, finish up all the wiring, tucking all the wiring for the injectors, full harness. We had to actually put a map sensor on, so the pre-made intake, or whatever, the intake that we fabbed up, we had to pull off, put the sensor on. Now we got the radiator in, fans on, fans wired, AC's all wired. We ended up installing a push button start for this, and this thing fires up. All we have left to do now is to bleed the brakes, power steering, put coolant in it. Hopefully by next week we can have this on the ground and actually go through some test miles. Last feat we have to conquer is the shifter, which by the beginning of next week we'll do. We had some other issues with other projects. So the engine covers that have all the bead rolling, basically all the brushed is on the recessed portion, and all the raised portion, customer wanted a gloss black. Poppy and Limber went ahead and painted the full engine bay, which this is actually the color of the car. It looks black right now, but it's like a deep midnight blue, almost blurple. You come over here and we got some custom little inserts. We tie in with the engine covers. These are also two-toned and polished with the gloss blacks. We got it here, and then basically on the other side as well. We have power steering reservoir and coolant reservoir mirror imaged in the engine bay. So once we get the cover on this is gonna have some very fine symmetry. All right, on to the next one. All right, here we have some progress on the homie Andrew's 68 Camaro. All right, Nano went ahead and broke the full front end down, doors and trunk. Poppy and Limber went ahead and prepped all of the door jams, trunk jam. We went ahead and shot. We did this previously actually. We shot the engine bay, firewall, apron. So right now everything's prepped, primed, sanded. Next week we will jam everything, and then next week we will actually shoot the car. All right, so we getting there, The setback on this one was wheels. The homie brought a set of wheels that was actually going on it, different offsets, so we had to do some minor modifications to it. So that's why it's not painted yet, but next week, let's go. All right, appreciate y'all for tuning in for this week's edition of Shop Talk. Sorry for the delay. I know we haven't been on our weekly uploads, but it's because we've been grinding. A lot of the builds have been in like test and tuning issues or fitment issues. Like with the Lincoln, we've been down in wiring. With the Bel Air, it was rust repair. Obviously, a few other projects came back for fixes or new additions. But everything is getting near completion or near the startup phase. So I'm telling you, in the next month or two, we're gonna have a lot of good progress. Stay tuned. I'm out.